9 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Sometimes all we really need to make the world a better place is just to understand each other a little better. And we got a program we want to tell you about that just might help in that regard. Angie Quidley has been with us before, but it's been a long time since we've seen Angie. It's good to see her again. She's the area manager for the Education First educational homestay programs. And Charlie Birkinshaw is with her. He is the Education First educational homestay programs in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or is with that, I should say. And we are going to talk about the cross-cultural connections in the Ocala area through educational homestay programs. So everything I just said might have more questions than answers. In other words, what is a homestay program? What is a cross-cultural connection? So let's find out from Angie and Charlie. And Ronnie is in the studio, too. Are you a silent partner today? Yes, a silent partner. Well, good morning, Angie, and nice to meet you, Charlie.
Thank you, Larry.
Let me make sure I got all the microphones turned on here. There we go. Now I can hear everybody. Thank you. I'll turn around now. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
So you're visiting from Massachusetts?
Yes.
Are you helping us set up a program down here?
We've had a program here for a number of years, but
He's my boss.
You're the boss. Could you pull the microphone closer to you? There. Sure. There. Now I hear you. Yeah, I know it's weird, isn't it? You would think that such a nice microphone, you could get it on the other side of the room. I guess that's the whole point, is to filter out all the outside noises. Well, thank you, because so we've had a program for a long time.
Yep, since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And what does the program do?
So we our mission is to break down the barriers of culture, language, and geography, and we do that by bringing students from overseas to the U.S. to have them come and learn English, learn about American culture, and do that by setting them up with a volunteer host family in the area who is willing to sort of welcome them into their home, provide them with the very basics of, food and a place to sleep and a roof over their head, and give them, the family and their children, an opportunity to learn about another culture, learn another language, and maybe for those that aren't able to travel overseas, this is an opportunity for them to sort of experience that in their home.
And it does make us more aware and more empathetic to other people, I think, don't you think?
Yeah, and actually Ronnie's here with us today because she really is listening and learning, but she's been a host family for 20-something years herself.
Wow.
Not with EF necessarily, because like you said, we just started the program in 2006, but she signed up with us here, and she's been hosting with us here, and as we've grown our staff, we have now hired her, and she's one of our our program leaders, as we call them.
You hired an expert, sounds like.
That she knows about the program. She can go out and say, I've done this before. She's she can share her passion for the program and testimonial stories of students that still call her mom and all that stuff. And I have the same stories because I've hosted 7 boys in my home over the years. And one of the things I think it's done for my kids is my youngest was 12 and my oldest was 17, and now they're 26 and 19, and they probably just thought there was the world of Ocala because that was their world.
Right.
And I think it's what it's done for them is it really showed them there's another world out there, given them aspirations to see the world and to want to get out in the world, which has driven them to want to pursue their dream or their talents or whatever.
Do you have a real quick story to tell you? Well, I'm going to combine 2 real quick ones. When I was a kid, I knew a family that had a student from Brazil living with them. And it was cool for all of us because as kids, here was this young lady, and she was hot too, so it was nice.
Never hurts.
But it was we paid attention because of that. But I mean, she spoke Portuguese. She spoke English too. But I mean, obviously we learned a little bit about it. What I want to compare that to, though, is an experience Robin and I had when this restaurant down the road that's now closed used to be a Chinese restaurant. We were talking to one of the waitresses there about where she was from. Okay, now here's the difference between the Brazilian girl and the Chinese lady down the road. With the Brazilian girl, we said, wow, where do you live? And we got out this globe. This was in the 70s, okay? So you turn, that's where I live, right? And then you point to the globe, right? With this young lady down the road, she had a smartphone. She pulled up Google, what do you call it, Street View.
These are so technological.
She showed me exactly where she lived in China. And I said, holy cow, first of all, you have a smartphone? For some reason I was like, hello.
And when our Chinese kids get off the plane, it's in their hand.
Yeah.
And when they're in class, we're like, put it down.
So I guess what that has to do with anything is that a young person today being exposed to somebody from a foreign country not only gets to meet the person, but can kind of literally, not literally, but virtually visit through the technology we have, right?
Yeah, and the thing about it too is families Skype each other now before they meet their student, and the good part
really?
about this
That's
program,
cool.
this program is a short term. A lot of people may be thinking, I've heard of the student that lives with you during the school year. This is only 3 or 4 weeks in the summer, so it's really a short term
really?
program.
Okay.
And so if you've ever thought of wanting to have a year-long student, this is a good way to taste it out, kind of.
I gotcha.
We actually have another program that does that. We are the nonprofit division of EF, and a lot of people have heard of EF tours, and a lot of high school students have gone with their teacher to Europe on an EF tour.
My son did in
Yes.
95.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're a part of that big corporation of EF, and that's the big building that Charlie comes from, where he works.
Come from a big building.
Yeah, we have it,
That's right.
big building in Cambridge. But we have families that volunteer their time and their life for 4 weeks. It's just a little short window of time, and the kids are gone all day in classes and activities. So the families that work, it's really easy. They just drop them off in the morning and pick them up.
Oh, really?
And then just at night have dinner with them. They go to bed. They get up, do the same thing the next morning, and weekends, whatever the family does.
Are the children that live here in this area, are they included in the activities, the Monday through Friday activities with their counterparts
Yes.
from other countries?
Some of the activities, not all of them, but some of the activities they can go on. And I do want to thank Ocala for the host families that we do have, first and foremost, because since 2006, since we've been doing this, we have built a base of families here, and every year we get more families, more students because of that. And so we have a lot of support here in Ocala. We have families in Dunellen and the surrounding area of Dunellen as well. And we actually have, 1,500 coming to Florida this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So about 200 of those are just in Ocala, Dunellen area. And we have anywhere from a little junior Chinese between the ages of 9 to 13. I say little because they're about this big.
Right, yeah.
To high school students that are 13 to 18. And the high school students are from Europe and Asia.
Wow, that's crazy.
We'll have
What-
Hong Kong and Russia and Spain, I think, are the 3 countries that we have here.
Are
Nice.
the host families, let's see, are they encouraged, not required, but encouraged to take them places? Like here, I'm guessing every kid from around the world wants to go to Disney World. So are they encouraged, or are they discouraged because that's not really Florida? Are there rules like that?
They're sort of encouraged to just sort of live their life the
Just
way
normal.
they otherwise would, whether the student is there or not. We really want them to experience, the typical American life, and we don't want that, and that's why we don't put them up in a hotel, because if they did that and then just did the activities, they wouldn't really get to know what,
Yeah.
being in America is like, and we really want them to be immersed in that sort of cultural experience.
Now, some students, they're into the arts, they're musicians, they play their own instruments, and they need to practice every day. Are they allowed to bring their instruments from their country overseas to here so they can keep on their regimentation and
Sometimes the
practicing?
violin comes over, sometimes the guitar, very rarely a
Pianos
piano.
are sometimes discouraged, but
But they get to showcase their talent. So that's a very good question that you say that. We try to match the student with a family that has like interest. So if a student says, I play the piano, we try to put them in a family that has a piano.
Oh, nice.
Or
Nice,
if the
nice.
student says, I love swimming, we try to put them in a family that has a pool or, goes to the beach a lot, does water sports. But they do like an international fair and a thank you to the host families at the end of the program. And sometimes they showcase those talents to thank the families. So it's really
Nice.
neat to see
Now,
those talents.
They're learning. Like, let's say it's dinner time, right? And you're going to put out the normal American meal. Do they sometimes, especially if they come from a culture that is greatly different food-wise? I'm guessing some are very similar and some are not so similar. But do they sometimes, do the host family say, "Why don't we make a meal typical of what you would have"? Does that ever? Does it?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great, cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Food is, different
So
everywhere.
where do they
you
go? Does
and-
Publix have that stuff?
well, sometimes you'll have them go,
have a
say,
funny
okay,
story
you're
about
gonna
Publix.
make dinner tonight, and they just go to the store, go shopping, grab the ingredients, and then they just turn it into
Huh.
a fun thing to do at night.
Wow.
What is your funny story, Andrew?
Oh, my student was trying to find the nuts that are really, really crushed for something he was making. He was from Basque country in North Spain, and we were in Publix, and we couldn't find those nuts anywhere. I found him in the coffee bean aisle crushing.
Oh.
And he says, "Look, I got crushed." I'm like, "Oh, those are coffee beans." There was a mess all over the aisle.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I'm like, let's go.
Oh, no.
But we'll tell somebody there's a little mess on there. But and for the farewell party, the international fair, when he stood up and said, and he says, "And thank you to my trip for Publix for my mom. I will never forget that trip," because it just really meant it was a funny joke, and it was fun
That's
because he
funny.
was trying to find those.
So you didn't use the coffee grinds for anything? I thought you were going to say he took like pecans and put them in the coffee grinder.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was just trying to
that's
crush
a good
something
idea.
to put in his recipe because he wanted to make it for the fair that we have where they share their culture and stuff. But
Is there a reciprocity? Do American students go over there while the overseas students are here?
It doesn't happen formally, but it often happens sort of organically with, the families the students become part of this new family,
right.
and they become so close that, they start planning trips to Spain or to China to visit that family and go back. EF doesn't organize that formally with that specific host family and that student, but it often happens sort of, as I said, organically, and they just plan it on their own.
I have 7 countries that I could go to at a moment's notice and call the family, and they would put me up.
Wow.
Or I could send my kids.
Have you done it yet?
My son has gone. My older son went to Germany. You've gone to visit your families.
Ronnie has, yeah.
We've got We've got students that have come to Ocala to some of the families and been in the weddings.
Oh, nice.
I
Oh,
still
nice.
get emails from my students. "Hey, Mom,
Let's talk about romance just for a second. You got young kids living in the family, and now a young student comes over. Are there rules? Hey, we got a young girl coming. No falling in love. I mean, do you have some kind of a rule like that?
Well, we normally try to put, if you've got girls in the home, we try to give you a girl. We wouldn't put a boy in the middle of a girl, only girl family.
Oh, that's dangerous.
And vice versa for the boy
girls
going
are
over there.
vicious.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
boy and a girl in the family, we try to play it safe sometimes by putting the older boy in the girl older and the boy younger, because it's more likely for an older boy to go for a younger girl than it is for an older girl to go for a younger boy at that age.
Okay.
We look at the supervision in the home and things like that. So,
Right,
but
right,
we
right.
still have it happen on the bus where they're holding hands, and we're sometimes going and sitting between them when they're,
Well, you know what? We're all human, right?
Yeah.
It's part
Sometimes
of our
that's their
life.
mission when they come over here to find a girl.
Yeah.
Are there background checks done on the host families and also the families that are sending their children?
Well, I thought you were going to say students. I'm going to say they're minors, but we
Yeah.
have different programs that we do. So our level of background check is different for different programs. For example, we have immersion programs where they don't go to classes where they're with families all days, and we have that down in our Tampa area where they don't go to classes, and that's a really rigid, real background check. I don't think it's the same background check that we do for the
For here?
homestay. It's not as rigid because they're not with the family so much as they are, but
we do. There is a requirement that all families provide references. We do physically visit every home and check to make sure the room is clean, that
Nice
there's
room,
a
nice
bathroom,
place
that
to stay,
there's
yeah.
a place for the student to study, that everything looks in order. We have a sort of checklist that we go through to make sure.
and there's the good old question: Have you ever been convicted of a felony on the application?
Right, right,
And if that, if it comes up, we would find something.
Yeah. And a felony in one country might not be the same as a felony in our country, right?
Right.
Yeah. Let me ask you if I could, and Ronnie, I would love to hear if you have a story here. Do any of you have any like really amazing stories of some of the students? Maybe they went on. You've done it a long time, Ronnie.
Tell a story.
They've
You got a story you want to tell?
they've
I have
become
one if you
adults
don't,
and they're
but
out
go
there,
ahead.
and
Years ago, I was a single mother with 6 children, and I wanted to have my children. I never was going to take them abroad. Wanted to bring it to them. One of our first students that we had was from Japan, and this student or whatever came in or whatever, and just was a wonderful addition to the family. He still calls me his American mom. It was
Oh, wow.
about. He now has 3 of his own children.
oh wow,
And I'm just waiting to go to Japan to visit him. He's an executive in a high-powered company or whatever. He travels all over Japan and over there. But the funny thing that happened with him is that he came back, and they say the same thing in Japan, I guess, as they do here. And when he was older, he was in his 20s, and so it was ice cold beer.
Ice cold beer.
Ice cold beer. And of course,
You didn't give him any, right?
he was an adult then. As an adult, yes. But he also, my daughters, because I have 4 boys and 2 girls, and he gave my daughter a charm because they were not having any luck in love. And within a year, she was married. But he's still
wow.
part of our family, and we have an absolutely wonderful time.
And did you learn Japanese in the language in the process?
Ice cold beer.
Oh, now I know some Japanese. I know something in Japanese. Well, that was an amazing story. Do you guys have a story you want to share?
I have
Something. I just think these
Sure.
are an amazing
from
part
a
of
host
this.
family, he doesn't, but he probably has experiences from other things. But go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's this a story about a student last year who had stayed with this host family in Florida, and the student traveled back to China, and when they got back, the natural parents of this student called the host family and said, "Oh my gosh, his clothes smell amazing. What did you do to them?" And it's these little things that we sort of take for
Bounce? Was it
granted
bounce?
that that they don't have. And so the host family said, "Oh, we used Tide detergent or whatever it was," and then like sent them a little
things like
package
that.
in
We
the
don't.
mail,
Yeah, you're right.
And now the natural parents used it again on the clothes and like, oh, our son is so happy,
Downy Fresh.
and saying that our son his room used to be a mess, but now he keeps everything in order, and he's much more sort of friendly around the house.
He's
and
worldly
thank
now,
you,
right?
Thank
Yeah.
you for everything
Wow.
you taught him, and we really appreciate
That is
it.
that is amazing.
I have a
Wow.
funny
that
German
story.
story I can tell you.
A funny German story. Okay.
Sometimes when the kids come over, we take them to different places with the families, and we find the host families by going through a lot of the local churches and the schools and community organizations and things like that, and being on the radio and magazines and things. But we had a church here in town that was like a non-denomination church, so they had every kind of worship. Some people worship like this, some people worship like this, some people worship like this.
Right.
And so they had a bunch of German students, though. Families all took German students. And it was the church that I was going to at the time. And we bring leaders over with them, and an adult comes with them. And the adult leader had been here years before, and she had been to that church, so she kind of already knew. And when we came out of the service that day, she goes, "Oh, Angie, I have to tell you a very funny story." I'm like, "What?"
You do the accent well.
"Oh, when the kids were in worship today, they asked me, what is this Heil Hitler they are doing?"
Oh,
Oh
no.
my gosh.
Oh
I'm
no.
going, no. And she goes, "I had to tell them, no, they were worshiping Jesus,"
Oh no.
And the Germans were all like, "What are they doing?"
Oh, wow.
So it's things like that they perceive.
The Heil Hitler thing in church.
But
Oh.
what's good about when they come over here is they all have a Hollywood mentality of America. They have the
I bet
media.
they do. Yeah. I
They
bet
leave
do.
with a totally different, the
Yeah.
thank you notes that I've gotten from my students on what they perceive about an American family.
Right,
And so
right,
we're
right.
changing their perception of America, which is shaping our future leaders.
I wonder if there are any families that are Hollywood-like. In other words, they wear cowboy hats. They come in. They drive limousines. I mean,
That's right.
Yeah.
Funny you say that. We had an organization we were in this morning, and actually one of the chiropractors here in town, one of the doctors, host with us, and he was kind of plugging our program. And I said, "Yeah, you're the one that brings them in a limousine when they go away, because all the students will come to say goodbye to the families. This big limousine drives up, and the students getting out, and everybody's going, woo!"
Oh.
So, families do special things. Like
Well,
that
wouldn't it be
for
cool if the Travolta family became a host family? That student would
That
have no
would
change in
be
his opinion.
Awesome.
No, not at all.
America is exactly like we thought it was.
We fly around in jets all day.
I know.
Okay. Now, if the purpose of being here is to recruit new families,
Mm-hmm.
what should they do? How do they get get on board with this?
Well, the phone number is listed on there, which is 352-857-7521.
Okay.
And it's also, they can call into your station, I guess, while we're here, and we can give them more information, or you can get them in touch with us after we leave.
Okay.
But basically, if somebody's interested, they just give us a call. We go over the program with them on the phone. We come out and meet with them and go over the program and do like what we call a home visit and do that checklist and references and kind of process their application. And then we get student applications in. We come out and show them a couple of pictures that we think might match them based on what they've told us their likes and dislikes are. And they pick a student and they start Skyping and emailing the
Does
student.
the family need to have other young people in the family? Could it be a retired
Not
couple?
necessarily. Yeah, we have
Really?
a lot of retired people. Being Ocala,
Right, I was thinking that.
We
Yeah,
have a lot of-
yeah.
I mean, any
Yeah.
family that's willing to open their doors is
Wow.
is
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay, now I just want to let you know, Robin already has the phone number you told us on the WOCA website, and she also put the EF.com. Is that the correct website? Okay, so if you go to WOCA.com, look at the guest list for this show, AM Ocala Live, you'll see.
there's two websites, Larry. They want to go to the efhomestay.org, the nonprofit website.
Okay,
There's two on.
efhomestay.org. Okay, and call us if you need that repeated or the phone number at all.
Do you have any students that come over that have special needs that are
Sometimes.
eligible for the program?
Sometimes we'll have like autistic, student, a student with Asperger or some form of autism.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had a physically challenging. Well, one year we actually had a student, I think, that had a limp and couldn't, keep up with the group. We have special questions we ask on the student application where the family discloses that information to us. So it doesn't necessarily disqualify them for coming, if we can accommodate them to a family. So yes, I would say we have. I haven't been able to see that so much. Have you?
Not as much.
I'm guessing there's a curfew at night. That's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
adhered to,
interesting you
right?
say that. These kids coming from Europe, when they go out, there's plazas and just the town, the city square. They go out and they come here and they're like, "Where's your city square? Where's your plaza?" And they go home to the family and they're playing board games and watching videos and doing,
Oh, I getcha,
stuff.
yeah.
And it's different for them, but it's something I think that grows on them while they're here. Because they're with the kids all day,
Right, right.
and they get home and they really enjoy their families at night,
Wow.
and it's a different experience than they have at home.
Wow. Well, thank you all for coming in. Angie, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Ronnie, nice to meet you. And Charlie, thank you for coming in. And you don't even have a Massachusetts accent.
I know.
What-
Originally from Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh, okay. And so it's softened a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One more thing, Larry, we do a $25 donation for any organization like yourself,
Uh-huh.
or, the radio station for families that call in and host. Any churches or businesses in the community that want to help us get involved in finding the families. And we do offer up to 60 hours of community service for the high school students that host in the
Oh,
home.
wow. Okay.
So that's real important for high
wonderful.
school students to hear that. I just wanted to make sure we said that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. Yeah, that's a good, important thing.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you all for coming in, and I'm sure somebody out there is saying, we should do this. This sounds like a cool idea. Yeah.
Please.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for
so
coming in.
much.
We will take a little break, and we will be right back.
What you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
If you experience nausea, sustained chest pressure, shortness of breath, pain in your arms, back, neck, call 911 and start chewing an aspirin. Women should not text, email, or Facebook friend a man first. Wait at least 4 hours to answer a text. That's the minimum. Casual Friday is apparently out.